We're about to briefly demonstrate how to make a cord mission rosary. The items you need to make a cord rosary are number 9 twine, a cord tool, which there are 2 varieties. It's just a matter of your preference of what you care to hold in your hand, but the important part is this groove at the end of the tool, which assists in making the knot. And if you're able to make a knot with this tool like this, you can make rosaries. You lay the twine across the groove of the tool. You make an X across the groove, and then you wrap downward 3 or 4 times and thread the twine you have wrapped with through the groove. Then you pull the knot off and draw it into a nicely aligned knot. At that point, you string beads for the first decade of the rosary. You string 10. Over time, you might develop your own method of stringing beads faster, but there's a variety of methods that rosary makers have devised over time. The twine provided is bonded. There's also non-bonded twine, which definitely has to be treated on the end, and sometimes even bonded twine requires treating to keep from fraying at the end and allow you to continue stringing your beads. In making a rosary, you should always count your beads twice to make sure you have 10 to avoid the frustration of completing a rosary and having it be short a Hail Mary or have an extra one. After you've strung your 10 beads, you're going to make another knot. You're going to try to make this knot as close to the beads as possible for placement. The preference for making a rosary would be to allow room for approximately 1 extra bead in between the 2 knots. In other words, you have that much space there before you complete this knot. And then you've completed your first decade with room between the 2 knots for 11 beads. At this point, you would add an Our Father bead. And your goal here is to make another knot directly up against the Our Father bead. The closer you can begin your knot to the bead, the better off you'll be. You'll want to kind of keep your twist in a row, and then once you get your knot up next to your bead, you'll draw it tight, and there you have a decade. You'd repeat that process for the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th decade, adding your Our Fathers for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th mysteries. After you've completed your 5 decades of the rosary, you'll have the 5 decades and 4 Our Father beads. You'll take your knot at the beginning where you started and your knot that you've just completed at the end of your 5 decades, and you will mate them up. And you'll take the 2 strands of twine you have remaining, and you will make a knot. You'll make a knot with the 2 strands of twine. You can do this 2 or 3 times. And then you thread both strands of twine through the groove, and you take that out and it forms into a knot. The original piece of twine was simply there to help you make that knot, and then you'll complete your rosary on the longer strand of twine. You'll put on an Our Father bead. Three Hail Mary beads. After you've put your last three Hail Marys on, you'll add one more bead for the final Our Father. The Our Father is, the crucifix is added by making a loop at the top of the rosary with the remaining twine, and that loop is laid upside down across the groove of the tool. And you take the loose end of the twine and wrap that around 3 or 4 times. And thread that through the loop, through the wraps. You pull that off, and you complete that knot up against the end of the Our Father bead. I have done that without the crucifix on here. You may do it with the crucifix on there and you would be done, or you may do it like this. You just make the loop without the crucifix in your way, and you're able to add your crucifix by sliding the loop through the hole at the top of the crucifix and dropping your rosary back through the loop. You'll complete your rosary by snipping off the 2 remaining pieces of twine, one at the centerpiece. It's good to have very sharp scissors. And the remaining piece of twine at the Our Father. And then you'll have a completed rosary with your crucifix like that if you've added it through the loop, and like that if you've added it while you were making the loop.